Legends, welcome back to the channel. John here with a little bit of a different video to normal. There's no cars in this video, but as the title suggests, this video is all about Crystal, my Labrador, who is affectionately known, if you have been following the channel for a while, as the Inspector. And we've had a little bit of a problem with the Inspector this week that I wanted to address because so many of you that follow me on Twitter and YouTube have been asking the question. So I want to, in this video, address the issue that we had with Crystal this week and how she is now, because I started my week in a bad place, to be honest with you. In case you haven't seen though, this is Crystal. She is a 12-year-old female Labrador, and actually a lot of you out there that watch the videos might think that that is John's dog. Well, actually Crystal belongs to and is Amy, my wife's dog. I met Mrs. John Coupland 10 years ago now, and so therefore, doing the maths, Crystal was about 1.5. And Crystal hasn't been seen at car shows or in real life with a lot of you because, well, she's not very friendly. And when I first met Crystal, she didn't like me. The good news is we are now best pals. So anyway, Crystal belonged, when I first met Mrs. John Coupland, to Mrs. John Coupland, and we semi-hit it off after a couple of months. Not me and Mrs. John Coupland, me and Crystal. Anyway, I'd never had a dog in my life. Growing up, we had a couple of cats when I was a child, but no dogs. And I didn't really understand at that time just how special it was to have a dog in your life. Anyway, as you may know, me and Mrs. John Coupland got together properly. We dated for a long time, and we've now been married for nearly 3 years. And Crystal obviously moved in with Mrs. JC, and wow, what a difference in lifestyle having a dog is in your life. I cannot begin to describe just how special Crystal and the other fluffy inspectors, one of them is running around chasing a ball in the hallway as we speak, are in mine and our lives. So when they get poorly, or when they're not how you expect them to be, that's worrying, right? Now, Mrs. JC and I have no children. That's not a secret. There are reasons behind that. And so, to fill that gap sometimes, probably, possibly, to delve into the psychology of it, Crystal and the other two, Daisy and the mop, who you may see in a second because she'll probably jump up, are effectively our children. They're part of our family. And so, does that make them any more special? Maybe. Anyway, Crystal has been, touch wood, a really healthy, happy dog for most of her life, very rarely having to go to the vets. Like I say, Amy and I have been together for 10 years, and I've only ever taken Crystal to the vet before this incident once. And that was for something that she'd had stuck in her paw when we'd been on a walk. She'd got a thorn stuck in her paw, and actually all the vet did was pull the fur out and send me on my way with some antibiotics £90 later. Anyway, backtracking. This weekend was my birthday, another year older and wider, and Mrs. JC was taking me out to one of my favourite local restaurants, which is an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. Brilliant, one of our favourites. I was in the shower. I just got in the shower. I'd had a day in the garden messing with some cars, and Mrs. JC was in our back bedroom getting ready. That's her dressing room. And all of a sudden I hear screaming. Now, Mrs. JC can sometimes be a little bit dramatic when there is a spider in the house, or when a bird has flown in, or when one of the cats has been sick, but this was different, and I knew this was different. I heard her physically screaming, and she doesn't call me John. We have a nickname for each other. You might notice our house is called Bear Lair. That's because our nickname for each other is Bear, right? She was screaming, John, John, and that is unusual in itself. Me then, to paint a scene, I'd just got in the shower, naked and wet, jumped out the shower and ran down the hallway to where this scream was coming from, and I witnessed on the back bedroom floor Crystal. And I can only describe the scene as heartbreaking and very scary. She was thrashing herself about, convulsing, her back legs wild, her mouth wide open, her eyes had gone a red bloodshot and black, and she was banging her head against the bed in the back bedroom. She'd messed herself, so her bowels had gone, and she was smearing that across the floor with her tail. Mrs. JC, of course, still screaming, not knowing what to do, and this carried on for about 30 to 45 seconds. I work for the emergency services. I am trained to deal with stressful situations and unusual situations like that. You know, I have done my time turning up on blue lights and going, what is the problem, and having to deal with it there and then. Decision making, nice and quick. Told you the mop would make an appearance. So I obviously took control of the situation and wanted to protect Crystal's head first and foremost, but I didn't know what was going on. I could see that her heart was racing, and I could see that her mouth was wide open. I instructed Mrs. JC not to put her fingers anywhere near her mouth and to move out the way, because she was also in a state of undress, because she was getting ready to go out for a nice meal. I managed to get Crystal in my arms and put her on the back bed, rightly or wrongly. I didn't have any concerns about any sort of spine or neck damage, and actually animals are built differently to us as humans, so they can handle being moved about in a medical emergency. Put her on the back bed, and as you can imagine, I'm covered at this point, well, in poo, for lack of a better term, and Crystal is still thrashing about on the back bed. At this point, she seemed to have calmed down a bit, and Mrs. JC obviously still in a state of panic. I get some towels, put it down, wipe myself off, and Crystal then calms down. She's been calmed down nicely by Mrs. JC. We then took 5-10 minutes to process the situation, and I made sure that Crystal got some water. So brought her a water bowl, and she drank some water. And actually, I wanted to make sure that, like all things, if there's something really wrong, Crystal won't have a little snacky treat. Well, actually, I did give her a little snacky treat, you know, the pedigree schmackos, and she wolfed that down. So I knew that Crystal was eating, and I knew that she was drinking. Flash forward 24 hours, because that was a horrible, horrible night. We didn't know what happened. We assumed that Crystal had had a fit or a seizure or something similar. I'm glad that she didn't have a heart attack, because I think if she'd had a heart attack, she probably would not be here still, because this has got a good outcome, this story, so far. Anyway, that night was a horrible night. Crystal normally sleeps in her own bedroom, which is the front room, in her bed, and we shut the door at night, so she's not tip-tapping around the house disturbing us, because she does have a habit of getting us up at 4 a.m. Anyway, that night Crystal was in her bed at the bottom of our bed, and she seemed to have a relatively sound night. I'm glad one of us did. I had to go to work the next day. I couldn't get that time off work, and so did Mrs. JC. There was a couple of hours overlap between me going to work and her going to work. So Dad, came and made sure that Crystal was okay, and he said, well, she does seem off, but she seems relatively okay. Anyway, that morning, go back a little bit, I missed a bit, I rang the vets, because Crystal was due to be in the vets today, Friday. and just for kennel cough and standard boosters. Like I said, she rarely goes to the vets for any problems. So I rang the vets just for advice and said, look, it's Monday morning. This is what's happened last night. We've got a very elderly female Labrador. What do you think? And of course, the vet said, you need to come straight in for an emergency appointment this morning at 9:30. I've heard the words emergency appointment and seen the pound signs racking up in my mind, but you cannot put a price on a family member. Or can you? We'll come to that. Anyway, I take Crystal down to the vet. She's seen by the vet almost immediately, and the vet is lovely, to be fair to her. And she checks Crystal over. I tell her everything about what happened, and she says, yeah, might have been a fit, we don't know. We can do some blood tests, £150. I'm going to pay that. It's a lot of money for a blood test, right? But I want to know what is underlyingly wrong with my dog. If anything, I've got the results here and we'll go through those in a minute. I've just been and picked those up. She gave her a good old once over and she has a good feel. And she says, yeah, she's got some back pain. Bearing in mind, Crystal again is 12 and a Labrador. If you know anything about Labradors, they suffer with hip dysplasia, they suffer with back problems. And she prescribed Crystal some of these, which is not a veterinary medicine association, is that a real thing, approved medicine. Well, it's Gabapentin, which is what we take, right, as human beings for epilepsy and pain relief, etc. So she prescribed Crystal 60 of those twice a day. So that's not 60 twice a day, 60 of those twice a day. So that's what, 30 days worth, a month's worth of painkillers. She said that may solve the problem with her pain in her back and help her feel less discomfort than she currently probably does. So she's been on those for about a week now. We'll come back to those. Anyway, I've had a blood test. Remember, the vet told me it was £150. I've got my prescription for my Gabapentin, £25 for a month, which I don't think is a major issue, although Gabapentin, from my knowledge of emergency service working and from speaking to people, is dirt cheap, right? £25 for 60 tablets. And of course, then I've got the emergency consultation fee. £590 is what I was told when I got to the desk for Crystal, and I questioned it because that's a lot of money for a blood test and 60 tablets and an emergency consultation fee. And I was told, no, the blood test is £350. Hang on a minute, that's not what the vet just told me. The vet just told me £150. I'll go check with the vet. No, the vet said £240. Hang on a minute, how have we gone from £350 to £240 when I know the vet told me £150? Anyway, I did. I said, look, I'm really sorry. I'm not paying £350 or even £240 for a blood test that I know I was told £150 for. So I paid part of the £590 bill, 300 and something pounds worth. Remember, I've got an £80 emergency consultation. I've got this, and I've got my blood test, which I only paid £150 for. And came home, gave Crystal her Gabapentin, and have carried on as normal. Good news then. The Gabapentin seems to have worked wonders for Crystal, the inspector. She is, well, a different dog, to be honest with you, and it makes me feel a little bit guilty that I hadn't taken her to the vets beforehand, but I didn't know that she was suffering with any sort of pain. Anyway, let's flash forward until today, which is Friday, and I've been back to the vets for the routine appointment that I'd got booked, which was the kennel cough and the booster. Oh, that's another consultation fee, by the way, because it's a separate day. I did ask if we could do it all on the day on Monday and was told, no, I'm not going to give her a kennel cough and a booster when we don't know what's wrong with her and I'm taking blood samples. Fine, not a problem. I was told I would have been called that day on Monday about my blood results, or about Crystal's blood results. Sadly, I've had to chase them up today. So today I've been to the vets, which is a saga in itself, getting them to getting Crystal to the vets, and they've asked me, hello, she's here now, hello sweetheart, and they've asked me about the Gabapentin, which is doing wonders, isn't it? It's doing wonders for the old lady, and she seems much more herself. The reason she's coming here is she wants some dinner now. And I've got the results of the blood test. Here they are. Here, I asked for a printout because some people that follow me on Twitter are vets, right, and can probably help me understand this maybe a little bit more than I can. But I asked for a printout just to put in Crystal's files as well. It's good to have service history with your dog. Anyway, the good news is everything seems to be fine from a blood test point of view. So I'm happy about that. And for a 12-year-old Labrador, the vet has said she's actually surprisingly healthy. She's still going to be on these, the Gabapentin, and the likelihood is she's going to be on those now for the rest of her life. They have got a side effect that they can cause liver and kidney disease in Labradors, but if it helps Crystal feel a bit better and stops any further potential seizures or fits, for £25 a month, we're not going to query that, are we? It's a tank of fuel in one of the smart cars. Anyway, I wanted to give you that update because I put this information out on Twitter when it first happened, and a lot of people, loads of people, sent me well wishes and thoughts for the inspector. I was very upset, very, very upset. And I still am, I suppose. It's not about the money, right? 600 and something pound I could have done without spending, I know. But she's worth every penny, isn't she? And you would do it for a child, and I would even do it for the mop, even though she's a nuisance. So I suppose I just wanted to do this video just to give you an update on Crystal, the inspector, and what the situation is with her. And tell you the story. I suppose it's easier for me to put it in a video than type a load of stuff down. For everyone that sent me well wishes about Crystal, thank you, genuinely. I'm not going to get emotional, but she is very special to me, and I couldn't imagine my life without her. It's coming to all of us, right? Death, oh, morbid. But hopefully at the moment, it's a clean bill of health, kind of, for the inspector. Anyway, everyone that follows the channel, everyone that comments, everyone that subscribes, and everyone that gives me a thumbs up, I can't begin to tell you how happy I am for that and how grateful I am and humble too. The inspector is a big part of this, and I know lots of you like seeing her. Even though Bruce gets a better feedback than she does, she will always be my number one. Best dog in the world. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this and have listened to me ramble on. And maybe some of the revenue from this video will pay for a month's worth of this. I'll give her a boop on the nose from you. Till next time. Thanks for watching. Proton stuff coming later, don't worry. See you later. Bye-bye. There are so many more Proton related videos on the channel, and I've actually selected a couple that I think you might like here on this page. Give them a click to watch them now. Don't forget to subscribe for more Proton fun and lots more videos coming soon.